Good morning. Welcome to this Chaplaincy Sunday thought for the day. And this Sunday in the Christian calendar is Pentecost Sunday, when Christians remember the coming of God's Holy Spirit upon the apostles of Jesus. A bit like us at present, they were experiencing a lockdown of sorts. For fear of being arrested, they were having to watch their movements and they were having to meet in homes with the doors firmly locked. Let me read to you a few verses of the biblical account of that first Pentecost. When the day of Pentecost came, they were all together in one place. Suddenly a sound like the blowing of a violent wind came from heaven and filled the whole house where they were sitting. They saw what seemed to be tongues of fire that separated and came to rest on each of them. All of them were filled with the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit then came upon these ordinary men and women in the form of flames, a symbol of power. Power is an interesting thing, isn't it? It can be used in at least two ways. It can either be unleashed in an uncontrolled manner, or it can be harnessed. I remember reading a story a while ago from the 15th century, a story of a man called Lorenzo de' Medici, part of the ruling family of the Florentine Republic in northern Italy. And Lorenzo de' Medici was a great patron of the arts, and he was very proud of the spectacular theatrical performances that he staged for the citizens of that city. And among his productions were several amazingly realistic religious theatrical pageants that were performed in churches in the city. But apparently one Pentecost, Lorenzo de' Medici went a little bit too far. He decided to use real fire to depict the descent of the tongues of flames upon the apostles. And lo and behold, the fragile stage set, it caught fire, and before the horrified onlookers, the entire church itself was burned to the ground. The power of fire was unleashed with very destructive results. And as I said, you see, it can either be unleashed in that way or it can be harnessed. Think of power in these ways, perhaps. Think of the energy, the power and energy that is maybe in 10 gallons of petrol. Yes, it can be released explosively by dropping a lighted match into the can, or alternatively, it can be channeled through the engine of a car, through the carburetor of that engine, channeled in a controlled burn and used to transport a person over hundreds of miles. Explosions of power are spectacular, but controlled burns of power have lasting, staying effect. After Pentecost, when the apostles left the lockdown of that room, the onlookers firstly ridiculed them for their enthusiasm for the things of the Spirit. They said they've had too much to drink, they're blasted, they're drunk on wine. The rest of the story shows otherwise, however. You can read about it, if you like, from chapter 2 onwards in the book of the Acts of the Apostles in the New Testament. Their experience of God's Spirit didn't lead them to burn out in following the ways of Jesus. Didn't lead them to burn out in the loving and serving of others, but rather it gave them power for the long haul. The Spirit of God that led them into deep community with each other, that led them into service of others, it provided them with real staying power for the rest of their lives. May God give you and I a refilling of His Holy Spirit this day, so that likewise our love and our service of others may not just be a flash in the pan, but may it rather be a controlled burn that takes us right through to the end of our earthly lives. God bless you all. God bless all those whom you love.